The new Netflix series Last Samurai Standing is dark, haunting, and thought provoking. These once celebrated warriors are now stripped of their title, privileges, and are fighting against outbreak and each other. It explores the era of samurai once they've been disgraced. Last Samurai Standing is like Battle Royale. It's Hunger Games with samurai. There's really beautiful cinematography. The setting of this period piece feels authentic. The action sequences and sword fighting are cutting edge. The opening title cards remind us of a rich history, highlighting how 950 years of history were wiped out in a single battle. Samurai were a completely different breed of warriors. The opening of the pilot follows the back of a warrior as he's sifting his way through a deadly and visceral battle. After tracking him through this chaos, he finally lands on higher ground and we settle on his face and we see what he's up against. And as quick as this opening starts, the battle is settled with two deadly sword blows. Our lead, known as Shujiro Saga, holds up the decapitated head of his enemy, and the war is seemingly over. But mere moments after the supposed victory, bombs and gunfire erupt. Bullets fly around him, and the rest of the warriors are taken out in a way that he's never seen before. The scene highlights the advancement of weapons in war. Once a battle of skill and the pursuit of honor has now transformed into a fight for survival in the blink of an eye. And in this action sequence, he quickly becomes the last samurai standing on the battlefield. It's both a visual statement and also an answer to the opening title cards. Shujiro wakes up from this nightmare and is thrust right into another one. His entire family is sick and throwing up. They're all bedridden and affected by a cholera outbreak. Now living in a village with his privileges stripped and no chance of employment. In fact, his samurai sword is so crusted with blood that he struggles to unsheath it and still shakes from the PTSD of it all. It's been 10 years since the Boshin War, and the new government has modernized. These once celebrated samurai have now been stripped of their privileges and their employment, and even their swords are worthless. In fact, swords have been abolished. Life is so hard that it's now commonplace to see kids crying amongst the village. Desperate for reprieve for his family, he goes into the village and tries to sell his sword. Not even the pawn shop will take it. And out of pity, he's awarded sugar and salt for his family. Upon leaving the shop, he sees that several men are excitedly gathered around this post, where these mysterious flyers announce a martial arts tournament. Now, this tournament has an award of 100,000 yen, which is enough for 10 generations to live in luxury. And most believe it's too good to be true, but the authorities try to shut it down and retrieve the flyers back. The flyers add an element of mystery and intrigue and take place in Kyoto, which is unlike anything they've heard of. Shortly after, Shujiro returns home to the sound of his wife screaming and discovers that his daughter is dying. Before his daughter Rin takes her last breath, she apologizes to her dad. She says she's sorry for failing to protect her mother and brother, and the performance of the wife is gut-wrenching. I will say that there is an English dub on this, and I almost would have preferred to hear the original actors because their performances were so compelling. There's a lot of times where the English dub doesn't quite match with the captions, and the gravity and the weight of the dialogue is not matching the performance of these background actors, so it kind of takes you out a little bit. And the death of his daughter is around the 15-minute mark, and he sets off with the mission and tells his wife he's going to leave. Determined to prevent the same fate for his wife and his son, he decides to pursue the tournament. He lies to his wife and says that he has a job, and promises to bring back enough money to save them and the village. And while he remains mysterious with what this supposed job is, his wife clocks that. His wife, despite being bedridden, has enough energy to sit up, look him in the face, and know that he's lying. In fact, she sees his sword and asks him if he plans to use it. She's sharp enough to know that there's more to the story, even when he denies it. She tells him to stay safe, and he promises to return. The brief moments that she is in the pilot, even a simple all right, carries the weight of expectation, worry, and admiration. Shujiro is now going to have to face his inner demons and battle them, while also figuring out how to survive this tournament. And it's a question of what he's willing to do in the wake of this family tragedy. As he finally makes it into the bustling city of Kyoto, the rumors are already swirling. Some suspect it's a government sword hunt, but even the children are begging to witness the spectacle. Shujiro goes on to reconnect with an old friend who admits that he's hosted people who are there for a similar reason. As he digs for more intel, he learns about potential survivors of the old shogunate who are joining forces, and there's talk of these comrades coming together and seeking revenge. By the time Shujiro makes it to the temple for the beginning of this tournament, he's still shaking, which makes it hard to imagine him being able to do anything when even the idea of looking at his sword brings up such harsh memories. But it brings an emphasis to the terror, honor, and spirituality that centers around his sword. The sword is an extension of him and also a reminder of his past. When he gets to the temple, it's filled with hundreds of men who are all desperate for the same thing. Everyone is blinded by the fortune, and people have come from every area, which means that the flyers were spread countrywide. So the introduction of there being multiple regions also leaves us with a question as to why. What is the host set to receive by doing this? And it's through these questions that we really build the seeds of what the series will be. Last Samurai Standing is Hunger Games with Samurai. We soon meet the character of Inju, who's essentially like the game master. Inju operates as the host of the event and announces the rules, stating that the game is set to test their spirits, skill, and physical limits. And to assure all those who doubt, they even show the fortune in person. The Last Samurai explores a time period where samurai have been rejected from society and also treated like ghosts. There's a layered aspect to re-entering this point in history where the samurai have a built-in redemption arc. There's a 30-second window to leave as soon as Inju starts going over the rules, and in that window a police officer reveals himself. Although known for his legendary sword skills, he announces that he's there to arrest everyone for breaking the sword ban. And as he charges towards the host, the guards quickly decapitate him, and it's very clear that even the law cannot save you. They are not working with or cooperating with the law at all. The stakes are life and death. And even after that, everyone who shows up is too desperate to leave, and that's what makes them dangerous. There's even a woman in the crowd and also a younger girl. It's revealed that the game is called Kodoku, and Tokyo is the destination. The rules are as follows. They must pass through specific province checkpoints, wear their wooden name tag, and collect others. This must all be done in secret. They cannot quit, or they will be punished. There is a 1-month timeline, and every kill is worth a point, and you take their name tag in return. Although there was no outrage for the police officer, when some of their fellow attendees freak out and try to leave, they are taken out. But these 292 players came of their own free will, and the only way to progress is to kill another player. Against each other, nothing is off limits. And after a brief moment of hesitation, chaos erupts quickly. Potential alliances begin to form. Where samurai once fought with honor and servitude, the Forgotten now operate for themselves alone. Shujiro sees his daughter in this young player and makes a point to protect her throughout the process. We're introduced to a few standout players, where everyone, including the girl, have their own agenda. While a wealthy group of men eat and watch, the real organizer is referred to as the mastermind, where the real intention of the game is to eliminate the last remaining samurai. The samurai were once seen as a symbol of power, but the world has left them behind, and a vicious game has pit them against each other. By the end of the pilot, only 128 players remain. Nowhere is safe, and acts of honor are misguided. This show was initially based on a book that was later adapted into a manga, and the story is able to capture dynamic fight scenes where the quick blows, slow-mo, and use of lighting are all part of a tactic, as Shujiro will be tested, because in order to survive, he'll have to kill. But there's enough seeds planted in this pilot that it's worth the watch. If you can work through the dub, the show has a thought-provoking concept and enough interesting characters to test the rules.